Greetings. Hello. Welcome to the stream. It is Monday. It is Monday. We are in the off weeks between episode releases, and it's exciting. I mean, it's weird, but it's exciting. Hang on, let me flip over to the chatting screen. Hello. It's nice. It's nice to be on a weird bit. Like, it's nice to feel like we're kind of gearing up for another episode release. That's good fun. That feels nice. But the sort of particular stress that comes with the podcast release is now sort of starting to become apparent. Like I was having a conversation today with Ella, who's in the chat. Hi, Ella. Thank you so much for being here. About the next few episodes and kind of going, well, how much of a buffer do we have? And having to think about that kind of thing and having to worry about these kinds of things. So it's exciting, and I'm excited for today as well. I'm excited to kind of take apart this episode and put it back together again. But yes, let's say hello to everybody. Hello, Ella. Ella is in the chat. Rooney Runes is here. Hello. The roads are so icy that my workplace closed for the day, so I'm able to make the stream. That's wonderful to hear, though. I hope you are obviously safe and everything is okay where you are. Murmur UK, I'm lurking and soaking the vibes. Absolutely fine. I hope you have a wonderful time lurking. When I'm watching Twitch streams, I'm a lurker. Like I'm absolutely, I've become okay with this, because the times where I've tried to not be a lurker, when I've tried to be an active part of a community on Twitch, it's backfired horribly, or it's just not worked, or it's just felt weird. So I'm a stream lurker when I'm actually using Twitch as a viewer. So if you do happen to be someone who's here all the time and is lurking, just know that I appreciate you. I think you're great, and know that I understand. Hat. Yeah. Okay. So, for those that aren't living in the UK is currently being battered. In particular, Scotland is currently being battered by a storm, and is about to be battered by another storm. We've had a 1-2 punch of storms coming in, and our flat is quite drafty. So I'm wearing a hat because it's cold, because it is cold in Vimdy, and yeah. So that is the reason for the hat. Older Model is here. Hi, Ollie. Good to see you. Is that an I? Jolsonier, hello, good to see you. Thank you so much for following. I got the notification that you followed earlier on today. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for coming. Like it do be Vimdy. It's thank you so much for being here. It's so nice to be able to do these streams with people here. Nus No Man, thank you so much for following. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy your time. I hope you enjoy the stream. It's nice to do these streams because I was saying to my partner beforehand, like, because she was saying, well, like you don't have to do them if you don't want to. If there's nobody there, you can just call the stream off. And I appreciate her saying that, but the other side of it is that, like, I quite like that these exist as like an archive, that it's written down somewhere, that there's a resource somewhere saying how we made this. I think that's kind of important, especially in such a kind of small indie space like the indie audio drama scene, where I feel like people aren't really documenting their processes as much as I think they should. So I think there's a lot of knowledge that isn't being shared around that I think should. So just having this available somewhere just makes me happy. And speaking of that resource, this is the Camlann project file. This is the Camlann edit project file. It's big. It is big. It is big. It is. We found this out on the last stream. It is 69 tracks at time of recording. A lot of them we're not going to necessarily get to talk about today because it's sort of stuff that's related to future episodes. But the main gist of it is this kind of middle bit here. And if I zoom out, you can actually see all of the episodes that we've made so far. But we're not going to be talking about those today, and I have to be very careful that I don't accidentally play them, because that's a massive spoiler. Very much like the Tower part 3 and part 2, the whole series is being made on one project file. It's going to be a massive chunky project file by the end of the series, but it means that I don't have to set up the project file anew, and I'll explain why that's really useful to me when we kind of start taking this apart. It's really cool to see how it all comes together. Thank you. It's good. I'm glad people are enjoying these streams. I'm an aspiring audio designer, so I love seeing how it all works in this space. Good. Well, that's fantastic. I hope this is useful for you. We have a lot to talk about today, so if there are any specific parts of the episode that you are wanting to know about, please do let me know. Otherwise, I'm just kind of gonna rattle through this as much as I can, just because there's a lot. So we've got the recording side of things, which is kind of interesting in and of itself. We recorded the series in an interesting way. Then there's the sort of big action scene as well. So I think that's probably going to be where we're going to be spending most of our time, is on the chase scene, because that's the most complicated part of the whole episode. It's the bit of the episode that took the longest, and it's the part of the episode that when we were doing notes, when I was getting feedback on the episode, that was the scene that kind of was the sticking point for quite a lot of things. And we get to talk about Gellert in this episode as well. We get to talk about how you create a non-speaking character in an audio drama. In particular, in the challenge here was that it was an animal, and I had to figure out how that worked. And it led to some interesting things. And yeah, there's a lot to get through, and we will get through it together, and I'm excited to talk about it. Right, so I'm not going to play the episode, just because the episode is like 25 minutes long, and quite frankly, we don't have the time. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. We did a listen-along stream last Monday. I think the VOD for that is still available. Don't go there yet! But yeah, if you want to hear the episode in its totality, that's the place. That's the place to go to listen to it. The other side of it as well. This isn't going to be quite exactly like what you hear on the finished episode, because this is the unmastered project file. We actually decided to do mastering for this series. I'm growing. So what happens is I make the episode in this project file. I export it to minus 24 LUFS, and then I drag that into a separate project file, and that's when I do the mastering process and bounce it up to a lovely, delightful minus 16 LUFS, which is, if you want to talk about that particular part of the process, we absolutely can, but just later, because for me, it's not a particularly interesting, it's interesting in a technical sense, but it's a lot of, you put this setting like this because it sounds better, which isn't particularly interesting to talk about on a stream. I'm also very aware that this jumper makes it look like I have no neck. It is here. I do have a neck. It's just this jumper is very dark, and I'm on a dark background. So I do look like a sort of floating head a little bit. That's fine. Floating head wearing a hat. So let's just start from the beginning. So this first scene is the campfire scene. We've got Di singing, and we've got a monologue as well. And there's not too much to talk about with this one, but I think now's a good time to potentially talk about how we recorded the series. Lavaita, good to see you. Good to have you here. A lovely mastering engineer friend since Christmas cards last month, with a picture of a tree on a loudness meter, and it very subtly reads "fuck loves." Yeah, I don't like them. With this series, I'm being a bit more liberal with them, but they're a good target. They're a good guide, not a target, I think. But yeah, so you'll notice if you are familiar with audio editing that this is a stereo file that we're working with here. And this is the point where I get to talk about how we recorded the series. And I'm going to try not to be too technical about it, because frankly, it's kind of, Ella will attest to this, it's not particularly interesting. But so this is an ensemble cast. It's an ensemble series, and we recorded in this room, which is quite a small space. And for the most part, we had like 6 to 8 people for a week in here all the time recording. So it was quite squeezed. It was quite cozy is the polite word for it. And basically, I had to spend a lot of time thinking about how we were going to record it. In the end, I decided to do what every sensible person should do, which is buy a new microphone. So I bought myself one of these. This is the box, obviously. It's not the microphone. It's a Lewitt LCT 640TS, and it's my baby. I love it very much. It does a lot of really cool things, and I will explain all the really cool things in a second. But I bought this microphone. I had it advertised to me, and it's a really cool box. Yeah, it's good. It's a really secure box. It's good. I would highly recommend the Lewitt LCT 640TS microphone box. Very, very good. It does feel a little bit like a kind of sniper box, right? So that's I will open it up and I'll kind of show you what's in there. So this, you can't see it because of the thing, but yeah. So you've got a microphone, you've got a pop shield, you've got a thing for all the standard things. Very, very good. Very tasty. But the really cool thing about this microphone, and I'll be frank, like, it's the reason I bought this mic, right? Because this is a game changer for me. So the whole series was recorded on this microphone. Plonk it in the middle of the room. Get all the actors to walk around it. Forget that the microphone is there, and it meant that there was less time needed to do setups in between scenes because we just moved the microphone around and then did it that way, with some exceptions, which I'll get to in a second. But what this microphone does, so it's a condenser microphone, and for the most part, it acts just like a condenser microphone that you would expect it to. It's multipolar. It does cardioid. It does supercardioid. It does omnidirectional. All those jazzy, wonderful things. But it can also function as a stereo microphone, where basically you sort of turn it sideways, and then like the front becomes left and the back becomes the right side. And this is it comes bundled with a plugin. And this is the plugin. It's called the Polarizer. And what the Polarizer does is that it allows you to change the polar pattern of the microphone after you've recorded, which is absolutely a game changer. The fact that you can like change. So it records a stereo file, but then and this plugin works on any stereo file, which is amazing. And this is a free plugin. You can download it from the Lewitt website. It makes me so happy that everyone is freaking out about it in chat. That's I'm just like, finally somebody gets it. It allows you to change it in post, which is just an incredible thing, because you can also automate it. So one of the big things I've been doing for this series, if I just find the right one, if I find the polarizer, so you see this green line here, that's me changing the polar pattern with the episode. So the plugin changes the polar pattern as the thing's going. So I don't need to do separate tracks. So it means I can have just one, or in this case, 2 or 3 vocal tracks. And I can change the polar pattern and fiddle around with it and mess around with it that way. And it's great. So it means that I can, for the main ones that I've been using are the cardioid, the supercardioid, and the figure of 8. I think the figure of 8 is probably my favorite one. The reason it keeps flicking back is because this bit's automated. But it also meant that for the indoor scenes, I could just put it on omnidirectional mode and get some of the natural room reflections. It meant for scenes that were outside, I could put the polar pattern really tight on who was on the speaker. And it also meant we got to do some experimenting with recording in stereo, which I'll talk about in a bit. But so for this first scene, obviously it's just a monologue. So we just had Tobias standing in front of the microphone, just performing it like he would a normal monologue, and it sounds great.
If I'm gonna tan fel tan yn llyn, Beth I'm gonna tan fel tan yn llyn, tan yn ein calon a than yn ein gwaith, tan yn ein crefydd a than dros ein iaith.
I'll just play that on its own. I'll kind of give you an idea of what this is like. So if I just get rid of put a little thing in here. So
Beth I'm gonna tan.
Hang on, sorry. There's a reverb down here. A little bit of reverb that I'll just turn off.
Beth I'm gonna tan fel tan yn llyn.
So
Byth am gynnu tan fel y tan yn llyn.
Currently, we have it on the supercardioid, but if I pull this down, I can change that to omnidirectional.
Byth am gynnu tan fel y tan yn llyn.
And you can hear the room, you can hear everything.
Byth am gynnu tan fel y tan yn llyn.
Alternatively, I can put it so the microphone is facing the other way. So if I just pull this up this way.
Byth am gynnu tan
So you just get the room reflections.
Byth am gynnu tan fel y tan yn llyn.
It's amazing. I love that. I love this microphone and its witchcraft very, very much. Hey, I get it. Sorry, Ella. Yes, I know you get it, and you've been very patient with me talking about it throughout this process. But yes, I would highly recommend. It is an expensive microphone. I will say that. It is the most expensive microphone that I own. But the thing is that I'm now selling a lot of my microphones now because I don't see myself recording. I'm selling a lot of my condenser microphones because I don't see myself recording on anything other than this because it's the everything microphone, you know? So yeah, I would highly recommend the LTC 640TS microphone. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Game changer. So as I said, there is a little bit of reverb on here. It's a free plugin called Outdoor Verb. And I think I've just got it on a setting where it's quite a small reverb. It's mostly just early reflections. So just have it on its own.
Byth am gynnu tan fel y tan yn llyn.
It's quite low in the mix. It's quite quiet.
Byth am gynnu tan fel y tan yn llyn.
And there's not a lot of a tail on it. It is very much like it just kind of, it's just sort of there in the midst of the vocals rather than kind of like playing out over it. And it's not. I didn't want to make it sound like they were in a cave, you know, but something like this. Because initially I tried doing a thing that was like a really small delay, so it was almost like it was kind of bouncing off buildings and trees and things. But this is what I ended up using, and this is a free plugin. I'd highly recommend getting it. It's dead easy to use, and also you can use it to make like really cool drum reverbs as well. This is what I used to use to get gated reverb snare sounds before I got my beautiful bisexual reverb plugins. Where's the other one? And then we have our delightful campfire. So one of the things that Ella specifically mentioned when we were putting the series together was that there had to be a very strong sense of place, especially when it came to like where the house was, where the campfire was, where the studio was, where the stream was, and things like. It's a very, 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 very specific setting. And because of that, there are lots of ambience tracks, and they all do something interesting. And so the kind of main one, obviously one you can hear, is this campfire. It's also this is also the campfire sound you hear in the tower. I reused it. I reused it for Camlann. And it's this lovely kind of slightly crackly kind of thing. And I also added this little extra, added a little granulizer on it, our wonderful Portal granulizer plugin. Just to give it just a little bit of extra spice, a little bit of extra texture, because that's just, it's adding a little delay, it's kind of pitching it and moving it around in the stereo field, so it just makes the track a bit wider. And then underneath that we have just some wind in the grass, which is lovely. Quite subtle, again, quite low in the mix, but just makes everything just a little bit colder, which is kind of what we're going for here. And then we have... So this is a recording I made of a place in Scotland called the Devil's Pulpit. I believe it's a filming location in Outlander. I think it was used in the Detective Pikachu film. I can't remember, but it's a very distinctive location, and it's one of my favorite places in the world. And there's a stream there, and there was one day we were visiting, and I had my microphone with me, and I spent the time kind of recording a stream from different angles, just as like a little sound design project. And this is what I used for the stream in the distance. It's not very well recorded. You can actually hear people talking in the background, which is not ideal. But sound design covers a multitude of sins, so you can't hear it in the final product, which is lovely. What do we have on the other ones? Got some animal sounds in a forest, whispering pines.
I'm gonna eat some.
Just some very windy sounds over here. And then finally underneath we have I don't know what this is. What is it? Nature Track 65. This is off my sound effects CDs. Oh, which one is it? Very Vimdy. It is. It's a very Vimdy series. 65. Rain in Woods. So that's what that sound is. You may, when David Pello gave me these sound effect CDs, he got them as a joke, but genuinely the amount of use I've got out of them, I've got 4 of them. The amount of use I've got out of them has been staggering, frankly. Like, it's more than they deserve. And then you put that together, you get a lovely little ambience, wonderful little ambience, immersive ambient sound to kind of get you started with the series. It's quite wide as well, which is quite wonderful. Everything's panned fairly central, which is nice, but everything's in stereo, so you've got that nice width. You've also got the fire going through the granulizer, which is adding a little bit of extra space, a little bit of extra variation, so it doesn't quite repeat itself, which is really lovely. And yeah, like already, like this is the first sound you're hearing. It's already kind of, it's not quite as minimal as something like the tower, where we prefab like an ambient sound and then put it in and then mess around with it that way. With this series, I very much wanted everything to be in the same project file and have a bit more control over variations when we do future episodes. So this is what we came up with. And then obviously we have our music, which we talked about in the last stream. So
I'm going to tell you a story about hope. Well, it's a story about losing hope. It's a story about losing everything and everyone you ever loved. Even the people you didn't know you loved until... Anyway.
So, an interesting thing to talk about, I think, is working with nature sounds in sound design. I think if you're going to be making something, designing an ambience for something like this, where it's an outdoor scene, it's in a wood, it's in a place where there's a lot of life. If you're using these sounds, you kind of have to accept that there's you have to give up a certain level of control over the final sound, the final mix. Like, you can add in sounds, you can take out little tiny bits, but to a certain extent, you kind of have to just go with what's on the tape. Right? Like, there's an owl sound in there. I can't remember if that's deliberate or not. What's this? Okay, there's an owl sound there that's deliberate. Okay, that one's deliberate. But there are other examples later on in the series where it's not deliberate. And it's just a case of you have to just kind of let the sound do its thing and kind of embrace the chaos of it. which I think is a good. I think not having control over everything in a mix is a good thing. I think it allows for interesting variations and interesting new sounds that you weren't quite expecting. And I definitely got that with this series, especially when it comes to using things like the granulizer or a delay plugin or a distortion plugin, where you're going to get sounds, you're going to get noises, you're going to get things that you weren't expecting, but they sound really cool. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the next scene. The only other thing to talk about is this sound here. So this is just me rubbing my hands in front of a microphone, in front of the mic, and blowing into them, just to add a little bit of extra immersion. Because Tobias did it a little bit while we were recording. Because so that's Tobias. Yeah, Tobias doing it. And then while the music is playing, I added kind of some extra, just to add a little bit of extra immersion, just to kind of keep Dai in the scene, as it were. Because I feel like the danger with audio drama is that if a character's not talking, they don't exist in the scene. I wanted to avoid that as much as possible, and a lot of the time it's just and when we were recording, we kind of we got the actors to do a lot of actions and a lot of non-speaking make a lot of non-speaking sounds, so we kind of had a bit of that library. But in this case, it was just easier for me to record it myself, and in a way that still sounds fairly natural. You know, there's a lot of stuff where it's like if you didn't know it was separate, you wouldn't quite catch it, you know? The little exhale and some of them. I think that's kind of one really cool thing about the recording process that I didn't really plan, but it kind of came out naturally, was that it was a very physical recording. Like we got the actors to move around a lot. We got the actors to kind of shuffle about and change positions and things while we were recording. Kind of full body voice acting, which was something I've never done before. There's been like little bits and pieces that I've done with like previous recordings, in particular with Folklore and in the later seasons of The Tower, where I've got actors to do things while they're performing. But for Camlann, it was very much the kind of key point when it came to making the series was getting the actors to move about and be active and, you know, act with their whole bodies rather than just their voices. And like I kind of said, trying to do that thing where they forgot that they were in front of a microphone and just kind of act, which is really cool. Let's talk about the chase scene. This is I love this scene. I love this scene very much. It's very fun. And there's a lot of stories. Like I said, I think I'm probably going to spend most of our time tonight on this scene, just because there's lots of moving parts. But it's because we've got all the sound effects and stuff. It is Big Pig time. Big Pig joining Big Cow in the Tin Can Audio farmyard is now we have a Big Pig. So you know we've got we have vocals up here on this track. I've got two of them. I'll explain why in a second, and I'll explain why they are different from the rest of the audio. We've got Gellert down here. Gellert has his own tracks down here, and then down here we have all the sound effects, all the kind of physical actions and movements and things. Very complicated. And then down here we have all the ambiances. But then if we go all the way up here, this is all just the pig. This is all just what the pig is doing. So I'll explain what the sounds are, but there's the noises that the pig makes, which are a composite of different sounds of different animals, and then we also have the movement of the creature as well. So I'm gonna play this scene just because I think it's important to have the context of it before we get into it, and so you can kind of see the movement of things. Unfortunately, the project file is too big to fit it all in, but so I'm gonna kind of keep it mostly down here. But yeah, we'll play it and then we can talk about it. Let me just make sure it's taking up the whole scene. Here we go. Right, there we go.
Oh, sweet Holy Mary, Mother of Jesus. Henry!
Die! Up here! He can't climb the slope, come on!
How the hell am I supposed to get up this thing?
Take my hand.
Morgan! Oh my God! You're alive. You're bleeding.
I'm fine. Take my hand, Die, quickly.
Where's Galette?
Running interference. Are you both okay? Fine.
Morgan's bleeding. I don't want to alarm you, but has anyone noticed that the giant pig is gaining on us?
I'm on it. You have a plan?
One that doesn't require any stupid noble idiots sacrificing themselves, right?
Do you see that cottage? Proper old stone Welsh walls. I think if we can get inside, it'll hold up even if Godfrey does catch up with us. Not sure that's an A.
Sorry, did you just say Turk Troy? As in Keeloch a Colwen, with a comb on his back?
That's the one. Poison spines too, which is fun for us. Girl! Harry, whatever the plan is, we need it now. Morgan, pick the lock on the door and get Guy inside, whilst me and Gallet run interference to buy you time.
Oh, I hate that plan.
Sounds good. On my mark. Go! Hey, you giant pig! Over here! Over here, look! Nice, tasty snack! Waiting for you! Here, let's do the meat! Over here!
I didn't agree to this!
Come on! Over here! Don't even think about it!
I'm just gonna stand here and watch them die!
Is this it? Is this the moment where you want to find out whether you have any real power?
Why?
That's what I thought. Get it! Wait!
Mort, I'm not too sure anything, but I think we're running out of time.
Try and die!
Hey, it's okay. Look at me. Seriously, we've got seconds. Breathe. Slow down. We can do this.
I really hope you got that door open!
Perry? Shh.
It's good fun. I like it very much. There is so much to talk about in this scene, but we'll fire through it as quickly as we can. So I'm going to talk quickly about the music first, because I know I've talked a lot about the music on the last, and the entire stream. Last stream was about the music. You'll notice that there's these kind of envelope points here. I had to do a lot of automating of volumes for the scene, and using that to kind of carry the scene, carry the momentum of the scene. Good, no problem, Snowman. Thank you so much for coming along. I hope work is not too bad, and yeah, we'll catch you later. Welcome back on the VOD, I guess. Yeah, so I'm mostly going to be muting the music for the rest while we talk about this scene. But yeah, so the volume of the music changes quite a bit throughout the scene. So it's just because, turn that down a little bit. Just because there's so much other stuff going on in terms of the sound design, the frequencies, and dialogue as well. And the music is already taking up a lot of the frequency range and a lot of the stereo field. So just bringing it down just allows everything else just to breathe just a little bit. So the music is loud when we need it to be, when we need it to kind of fill space. But other than that, we just sort of have it low in the mix, so it's still moving everything forward. Especially this bit here where the characters are just kind of standing around talking and you want to keep the energy up. So you just have this kind of low in the background just moving, keeping everything moving, and then bring it back up for when they start moving, when they run away. and then bring the music down. And then obviously when we kind of come to the end, we go really quiet, just for the kind of really quiet, intimate bit of dialogue at the end of the scene. And then obviously we really ratchet up the volume towards the end, just as we get to the really perilous point. So yeah, so I think you can. I think it's very easy to just slap a music track on and then leave it there. But I think you should use automation with volumes to kind of let the music punch where it needs to punch, and then also kind of take a step back when it needs to, because it means that you have a bit more flexibility with the music, and you're not kind of beholden to it. Which, you know, as a composer, it's nice when, you know, editors are beholden to you, but at the same time, as an editor, it's good to actually mess around with it just a little bit more and not just have it sitting there on the timeline. Okay, so what should we talk about first? Let's talk about the pig sound design. I feel like that's kind of the first thing that strikes you, right? So let's go up to here, big pig. Let's make these tracks a bit bigger. There we go, big pig, even bigger. Why not? There we go. So you'll notice that these tracks have specific names. The pig sound that you hear, which starts here. So there's a lot of effects on it. Let's bring all the effects in. So there's the granulizer. I'll talk about this plugin in a minute just because it's slightly complicated. And then we also have a big reverb on it as well, just to really kind of give it size and distance. If we turn the effects off, this is what it sounds like. So I'll turn that up a bit so you can hear it a bit better. So it's a number of different sounds. So you'll notice that the track names kind of give it away. But so at the top we have an otter. We have the sound of an otter growling. And then underneath that we have it says pig, but it's actually a piglet. It's a piglet complaining. Which I don't know what it's complaining about. Maybe somebody got its order wrong or something. I don't know. But so that's a composite of two different sounds smashed together. So if you stick those two together, you get this delightful. It just gives the initial part of the roar a little bit more texture and a bit more gravitas. And then underneath that we have just the same pig sound, just pitched down an octave. Which, so when it came to doing the creature sound design for this series, I read a lot about Jurassic Park in particular and how they did the sound design for Jurassic Park. And you do find that the old tricks are the ones that work the best, which is slowing audio down, pitching it down an octave. Do that with any animal sound, you're going to get something that sounds like a monster, right? Like, you know, throw some reverb on that. That could be a dinosaur, right? Like that could be a dinosaur sound. It could be an alien sound, but that's just the sound of a piglet complaining and it's turned down an octave. You know, nothing too complicated about that. And then right at the bottom we have a bear, a delightful, wonderful, cuddly grizzly bear, moaning. So this is a prefab sound, so it's got a little bit of processing, a little bit of effects on it, but just when you stick them all together, you do get a delightful. So what I was kind of going for with the grizzly bear sound, the idea was that was kind of its body vibrating and the kind of the world around the pig vibrating with the sound. Alongside all these other sounds, and then the piglet sounds were there to, you know, indicate that it was in fact a giant pig, and then the otter sound just gives the initial roar a little bit more texture, because, you know, if you listen to these the two sounds on their own, you can kind of hear the otter sound stop and start over the top of the pig sound, but when you blend them all together and you put the effects on, all just blends together. which is marvelous. Such an adorable combination. It is. I had fun making creature design. Is a lot of fun. It's something I don't get to do very often, and I wouldn't say it's something I'm particularly good at. But I mean, you know, at the end of this series, I'll be a bit more versed in it than I was going into the series. And for the most part, things just kind of continue. For the sort of aggression sounds, I have the sound of a Bengal tiger, just to add underneath the sounds. Oh, sorry, I'll just turn the effects off there, just to... Some delightful sounds of a tiger. They're sort of bassy, but they're also quite high, and they're very, like... It just sounds dangerous, right? It's beautiful. I just use that clip over and over again, along with some different variations of the roar here. Again, put the effects on. All just sounds really big, sounds really nice, and then if you add all the other sounds on top of it as well. And then that's the sound of it moving about. And again, that's just one sound repeated. It's just the sound of somebody. It's just the sound of a boot on gravel. Because we also have some other sounds underneath it as well. We've got some other sounds of it crashing through the forest here. So all the sounds you hear in this section down here. Are these panned? I don't think they are. Nah. So these sounds here were all recorded in Glasgow. I recorded these myself. Basically, I messaged. This was recorded last month. I messaged Libby Brooks of Glasgow Ghost Stories, a fantastic writer, fantastic voice actor, just generally amazing Scottish audio drama person. I said, look, I need to record some sounds for Camlann. Do you want to go for a walk? And she graciously said yes. And we basically spent a few hours just stomping around the woods, finding piles of sticks and like trampling on them as sort of heavily as we could. Well, Libby did that while I sort of followed her around with my recorder, followed her around with this, and tried to sort of steer her away from the broken glass bottles and stuff that were strewn about the place. But it means that you get this delightful kind of big kind of energy. I might just turn everything off. I'll turn everything on other than the vocals. So with the turn Geller off for now as well. So you just get that sound of just in the background of everything else going on. Just sounds like this big creature moving about. Because that was the other thing. There were some sounds that I kept just in the general sound effect thing, just for accents. So you get this delightful sound of a tree. I believe it's a tree falling down, along with like a tree being cut down as well. Just using lots of those kinds of sounds in the field alongside all the other crashing sounds. All just blends together. Again, just kind of creating a cacophony. creating this marvelous cacophony of sound that you really like. Your funky spectrometers, do they come standard with Reaper? So this is a separate program. It's called Minimeters. You can get it on hitch.io, and I think it's about like £5 or something. And yeah, you can customize it. You can, if I just maybe I can go to settings, you can customize it. You can put different. You can change the order. You can change the colors and things. I find it particularly helpful for mixing and mastering, in particular the looking at like the stereo field and where all the sound is going. But yeah, they don't come standard with Reaper, sadly. But it's just a plugin that you attach to your master track, and then you can. I've seen somebody get like a really long monitor and then put it on a separate monitor, which looks really cool. I wish I knew how to do that. But I'm not particularly technologically minded when it comes to computers. But yeah, so that's for the most part is our kind of pig sound. If you cut out all the yelling, it almost sounds like a nice, normal fantasy post-apocalyptic health walk featuring a big pig. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it just sounds like a pig walking around the forest, having a good time. Sort of this. It's getting stuck in a thicket again. But yeah, this is our big pig sound. The plugin that I talked about earlier on. So this is a plugin that Ollie, Older Modal in chat, told me about. It's called Dear VR Music. So it's sort of designed for it's a plugin that's kind of designed for 3D audio and binaural microphones and things. But one thing that I think is really cool is that it allows you to change where the audio source is in relation to the listener. So this little image here is the listener. It's the person with headphones, and then you can sort of change where the sound is coming from. You can change the scale, you can change the distance of it, but also you can change like whether it's higher or lower than the listener, or you can change like, you know, that's the sort of side X and Y, and yeah, I just think this is really cool. It's a really cool plugin that I've not quite properly figured out how to like use it properly, but in this case, what I used it specifically to automate the distance. So if you look at the distance one down here, and then while the scene is playing, you can see that it moves, and then the distance goes up. Basically moving the sound source away from the listener, and then slowly bringing it back. So I move it over here. You can sort of see it move back down. So that's it getting closer. And then from about here, it's going to get gradually closer, very slowly, very, very gently. And then when it comes back down to this point, it's like it's back in the center again. So yeah, really cool little plugin. I'm still properly figuring out how to use it, but I think I find it really difficult to, when it comes to positioning where people are in a scene and things. If you're wanting to have that very 3D kind of space, I'm not particularly good at managing that. And also when it came to this scene, one of the big things was trying to convey where the pig was in relation to all the other characters, right? And this plugin just allowed us to do that in a way that was easy for me at this point. Because I was going to do it manually, but this just gave it a little extra dimension and kind of made it slightly more intuitive as well, which was kind of what I was after. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. I think this is the only thing I've used it on so far. But like you can change the output format, so you can change it onto ambisonics and things, and it's got reverbs built in as well. Like it's a really good plugin. I'd highly recommend it. Once I figure out how to use it, I will let you know. But yeah, so that is our delightful Tuck Truth, our delightful pig. So let's talk about the vocals, because this was recorded in an interesting way. So this was the first scene we recorded, and I was kind of like, it's a very active scene. There's lots of running around. There's lots of movement, and also it's outside. And I kind of thought it's going to be difficult to get in here. Again, small room. It's got quite a lot of audio treatment, but the ceiling is an issue, and it became an issue later on in the series. So I kind of thought, well, why don't we just, record it outside? So we got the give me just a second. I'll get the particular pictures up, but we recorded the scene outside, and basically got the actors to run around my back garden space, doing the scene, which is really cool. While I sort of followed them around with a big microphone, big fluffy microphone. Let's see. That's probably the best example. Just. Why are you not letting me do things? Yeah. But yeah, we got the actors outside, which I think I'm usually a bit wary about recording. Here we go. What? Okay. No pictures today, apparently. I'll just drag this over. So yeah, this is what we did. This is how we recorded it. We recorded it outside. We had all the actors running around inside my back garden. The shared garden space. I had to put a little note through the neighbors' letterboxes, basically saying, "Hi, if you see a bunch of slightly odd-looking adults running around yelling in the garden, it's just us. Don't worry about it. Please don't call the police." And luckily that nobody did, which was handy. So recording outside brings its own challenges, in particular because there were multiple speakers and there was only one me holding a big microphone. So the audio is not great. The audio is not particularly well recorded, but it works for what we need it to do, right? So what did I do to it? So obviously there's a lot of filtering. There's a limiter on it just to kind of make the volumes a little bit higher. And then also I took some of the low frequencies off because it's quite a bassy sound. So this is what the final sounds like.
Oh, sweet Holy Mary, Mother of Jesus.
Okay, it's being sent to the outdoor reverb, so I'm going to mute that so you can get an idea of what it sounds like on its own.
Oh, sweet Holy Mary, Mother of Jesus. Perry!
Die! Up here! He can't climb the slope, come on!
How the hell am I supposed to get up this thing?
Take my hand.
Morgan, oh my God, you're alive. You're breathing.
A little page turn in there.
Morgan, oh my God, you're alive. You're breathing.
I'm fine. Take my hand, Die, quickly.
You can also hear cars in the background.
Oh my God, you're alive. You're breathing.
I'm fine. Take my hand, Die, quickly.
Where's Gellert?
Running interference.
It's weird to not hear a bark there.
Are you both okay? Fine.
Morgan's bleeding. I don't want to alarm you, but has anyone noticed that the giant pig is gaining on us?
I'm on it. You have a plan?
One that doesn't require any stupid noble idiots sacrificing themselves, right?
Do you see that cut?
So as you can see from these little lines here, you can absolutely see that this scene is a mess in terms of its audio, in terms of the levels. Like there's been a lot of moving around, there's been a lot of manipulation, there's been a lot of boosting. Because if I turn all the effects off,
oh, sweet Holy Mary, Mother of Jesus.
It's quite bassy.
Perry!
Die! Up here! He can't climb the slope, come on!
Also, you can hear the traffic
How the
noise a
hell
lot
am I
more.
supposed to get up this thing?
Take my hand.
Morgan, oh my God, you're alive.
And his page turns.
You're breathing.
I'm fine. Take my hand, Die, quickly.
Where's Gellert?
Running interference.
So, yeah, we recorded this outside, and it was a bit of a mess. And I'm glad we didn't record anything else outside. But I kind of knew the audio was going to be rougher. Like, again, like I said, with outside, with sounds of like outside spaces. I think if you're going to be recording an audio drama outside or on location, again, you have to kind of compromise and realize that the audio is not going to sound perfect. And this is something I've been thinking about a lot recently, in that, you know, in any other medium, audio that's slightly, you know, any like quality that's slightly rough around the edges is seen as like authentic, right? You know, if you watch a film that's been made on like a handycam, or when you watch a video that's been filmed on a phone, it feels more authentic, right? Because it's got that slightly rough and ready quality to it. You don't get that in audio drama. In audio drama, you sort of have to strive for everything sounding perfect, and I think that's very curious. And where as someone who likes recording really good quality audio and then making it sound slightly nasty, like in The Tower or Folklore, and to a certain extent this series as well, I just think that's really interesting. And I guess with this series a little bit, I was kind of putting my money where my mouth was a little bit, by kind of going, right, well, the audio is not going to sound perfect, but we're going to make it work. And it did work, and which is good. I'm glad that it did. But the wonderful thing you get by recording audio like this, and like, as much as it doesn't sound perfect, you can, I think, listening, your sort of ear latches onto the fact that, oh, this sounds like it's been recorded outside, and as a result of that, it means that the sound design element of it sounds a lot more like it's all been recorded together, rather than having like really clean audio with sound effects underneath it, right? Like if I just play this, I'll just turn the pig off for a second. Turn that off as well. So you just get the scene.
Oh, sweet Holy Mary, Mother of Jesus. Perry!
Die! Up here! He can't climb the slope, come on!
How the hell am I supposed to get up this thing?
Take my hand.
Morgan, oh my God, you're alive. You're breathing.
I'm fine. Take my hand, Di, quickly.
Where's Gellert?
Running interference.
But you see what I mean? Like, because it's got that slightly rough quality to it, because it's slightly bassy, because it's the direction of the microphone is pointed slightly it's pointed at the wrong person at a couple of times, because I was kind of having to do this, to try and make sure that the audio, or stand behind a character and then point it and try and point it kind of vaguely central. It means that some of the audio is a bit bassy, or slightly, you can tell the speaker's facing away from the microphone. At some points people are quite quiet and further away. Boom operating. I was literally boom operating. I was I think there's another picture. Hold on. See if I can find. Oh, I had it like a second ago. Where'd it go? Yeah, I was literally boom operating. That is the face of someone who was not prepared for a week's worth of recording. I would be much more tired by the end of the week. But yeah, I was recording it like you would record film dialogue, without the annoying thing of camera operators being like, boom and shot, oh, you're too close. I don't like being a boom operator. Started out in film, and then I didn't enjoy it very much. Someone told me to practice just casually holding tins above your head while watching TV in the evenings. That's very funny. I wish I'd known that. It would have made stuff a lot easier. I was just told I needed to go lift weights and things the week before the shoot, which just meant by the time I got to the shoot, I had tired arms, which was not helpful at all. But yeah, like, because the audio is slightly rough, it means that the sound design goes a bit further, and the scene sounds a lot more believable. At least I think it sounds a lot more believable.
Oh, sweet Holy Mary, Mother of Jesus.
Sort of the blend from this sound effect here to the sound of Tobias running.
Oh, sweet!
We'll stick them together down here.
Oh, sweet Holy Mary, Mother.
Because Tobias is physically moving, it affects his performance, but also like you feel it when you listen to it. You sort of feel the movement when the two sounds blend together. And yeah, I think that was an interesting thing to wrangle with while putting this scene together.
On my mark. Go!
So the second half of this. So for the most part, it was mostly the three of them standing. It was standing sort of in a circle.
Did you just say Turk Troith? As in Keeloch a Galwen with a comb on his back?
That's the one. Poison spines too, which is fun for us.
Girl! Perry, whatever the plan is, we need it now.
Morgan, you pick the lock on the door and get Di inside.
It's like editing this scene was quite frustrating because you can hear everyone breathing all the time when they're not talking. Like
Morgan, you pick the lock on the door and get Di inside, whilst me and Gellet run interference to buy you time.
Oh, I hate that plan.
Sounds
it's
good.
such a I mean this with kindness, but it is such a voice actory thing to do. Is like action scene. Okay, when I'm not speaking, I'll just breathe really loudly.
Morgan, you pick the lock on the door and get Di inside, whilst me and Gellet run interference to buy you time.
Oh, I hate that plan.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So second half of the scene, like this whole bit, they're just talking.
Not sure that's an it.
Sorry,
Right.
did you just say Turk Troith? As in Keeloch a Galwen with a comb on his back?
Doing a
That's
bit
the
of
one.
exposition.
Poison spines too, which is fun for us.
Girl!
And this is where the music comes in, right? This is where the music keeps things moving.
Say Turk Troith. As in Keeloch a Galwen with a comb on his back?
That's the one. Poison spines too, which is fun for us.
Girl! Perry, whatever the plan is, we need it now.
Morgan, you pick the lock on the door and get Di inside, whilst me and Gellet run interference to buy you time.
Oh, I hate that plan.
No heavy breathing, only heavy breathing vibes. Yeah, pretty much. I get it though. I understand why. I understand why that feels like the logical thing to do. And to be fair, if I were in that position, I would probably do the same thing. Yeah. I'll talk a bit about Gal in the next scene, just because this is mostly, in terms of what Gal is doing in this scene, it's mostly just barking and moving around.
Has anyone...
Just taking the barking and then some movement sounds. So the second half of the scene we recorded in a slightly different location. I got Tobias and Ankarad to basically go up to the back door of my building, my flat building, and that was kind of the door of the cottage, as it were. And I said to Ankarad, like pretend to pick the lock while we're doing the scene, while Robin kind of stood at the other end and basically kept yelling, which, like, in hindsight was not the way to do that. It doesn't sound great, but what I ended up doing was we got a second recording of Robin just running around and yelling things at the pig.
Over here! I'm delicious!
Which is marvelous. Robin was such a trooper when it came to doing action stuff. Like they were absolutely up for anything, and they to the point where at one point they suggested something. They were like, "Well, I could do it this way," and I basically said, "Sorry, look, I don't understand how when we do these slightly strange, over the top, physical sections, it's always you that's doing them." And they were like, "No, I really like it." So Robin was really good. Robin was really patient and was very enthusiastic about doing these kind of scenes, which was wonderful, and it was really appreciated, and it has made the series better as well, which is grand. Yeah, so we've got.
Hey, you giant pig! Over here!
So this was the recording of where we had Ankarad and Tobias at the door, and I was standing at the door with the microphone, and then Robin was sort of in the background.
Hey, you giant pig! Over here! Look, nice, tasty snack. Come on, just waiting for you. Here, look at me. Woo, over here!
I didn't agree to this!
And then down here we have the other track.
I didn't agree to this!
Come on!
Over here! Delicious!
Don't even think about it.
I'm just gonna stand here and watch them die!
Is this it? Is this the moment where you want to find out whether you have any real power?
Fine!
That's what I thought.
Get it! With me!
This bit was quite challenging because there was so much going on and it was quite a quiet, like the sound of a lock being picked is quite quiet.
Morgs, not to rush you or anything, but I think we're running out of time.
Try and die.
Like it's in there and it's really loud,
hey,
like too loud.
It's okay. Look at me. Seriously, we've got seconds. Breathe. Slow down. You can do this.
I really hope you've got that door open!
And then we're in the cottage. So there's not a lot to talk about in particular with this cottage bit, but I think the thing to talk about is that this bit, for this scene, I decided to not use the polarizer plugin that I kind of talked about earlier, right? Because if you don't use the polarizer plugin, it's just a stereo file, right? So I thought it would be interesting to have, when they go into the house, have them in stereo, because I didn't know this until we made this series, but you can use stereo in a way to make things really intimate, which is something I didn't realize you could do. But like there's scenes later on where we have two characters talking and I recorded it in stereo, so it meant that like you have you feel like you're in between two people talking to each other. And this is kind of an example of that. So if you just you won't necessarily get this unless you're wearing headphones, but this is what it sounds like. So I'll just tell you what, I'll just play the vocal track.
Perry, shh.
Wait for it.
Like it feels very close.
It's okay, girl. Good boy. It's gonna be okay.
It's like you get the breathing in both ears, which I really enjoy. And then if you add Gellert to that as well.
Perry, shh.
And Gellert's panned to the right as well, so you get this full.
It's okay, girl. Good boy. It's gonna be okay.
It feels very close, which I really love. Like I hadn't appreciated that about stereo recording until I made this. And that was something that came out of the recording process, which when we kind of get there, I'll talk about it a little bit more. Like from sort of episode 3 onwards, I realized we could do interesting things with stereo recording. And when we get to episode 3, I'll kind of talk about that a little bit more. Now is as good a time as any to talk about our beloved wolfhound, Gell. So for the most part, Gellert has 3 tracks dedicated to his performance, and he does very good performances. He's a fantastic actor to work with. Does exactly what you need him to do. Only desires a bowl of water and some treats, and then that's it. So I used a sound effect library for Gellert. I toyed with the idea of asking my friend who owns a lot of audio equipment and also a beautiful golden retriever to record a library, but then I realized that was going to be way too much time and I couldn't pay them for their time, so I just bit the bullet and bought a sound effect library instead, which was marvelous. It's a sound effect pack called, and you're not going to believe this, Dogs, and it features Barkit. It features a large dog, a medium large dog, a medium dog, and a small dog. Doing very, we've got barking, we've got whining, we've got growling, we've got all sorts of wonderful sounds for dogs, and I'm incredibly pleased with it, and I kind of go mix between large dog and I think medium large dog for the series, and I love doing this stuff. Like when we did Middle Below, I had a lot of fun designing Sans the cat. So for this series, getting the chance to have like a fully fledged character that did not speak at all, but was kind of in the background of every scene, was a lot of fun. And I think it's probably one of the more rewarding parts of Camlann. Do you know much about how most people will be listening to this? I'm guessing mostly headphones. I get the data that I get tells me how people are watching. So like how many people are watching on their phone, how many people are watching online. Most people watch on their phones, but it's like I think something like 55% watch on their actually no, that's way too much. It's like 50% watch on their phones and like 47 watch on the computer, which is interesting to me. I'm curious. I'm always curious as to like how people watch these streams, but that's just live. That's just live views. I don't get data about any further views after that. But it is an interesting thing. I hope people, so at least some people, are watching with headphones. And I think if you are wanting to get the most out of this process and these explanations, it's probably best to watch with headphones. But at the same time, I get it. Like, sometimes you can't be bothered, and I get that. I'm very much the same. So, Gellert, for the most part, it's these two tracks. It's Gellert, and you might have noticed a track called Gel Bell. So, oh, you meant Camlann. Oh, sorry. That's me being really presumptuous and slightly big-headed. So, it's an interesting question, and I think it's probably worth talking about, right? So, the thing that I was kind of told, and Andy Goddard, who's a fantastic producer who made Wooden Overcoats, as well as many, many other fantastic radio drama programs in the UK, said to me once that the best thing to do is to mix for the tube, so as in mix for like the subway, mix for the train, mix for the bus. Like, most people who listen, you've got to kind of cater for the listener who's going to be, listening to the episode on like the the cheapest headphones possible while on their way into work, So, and I it's easy to forget that. I think it's easy to kind of get wrapped up in making something that sounds really cool and uses a lot of stereo effects and stuff. But I think you want to make sure that you get the same effect no matter what people are listening. Like, what I do when I'm finished editing an episode is that I switch the master output from stereo to mono, and then listen to the whole episode in mono. And if it sounds fine, then it's like, okay, that's a good mix. It should be able to work in both mono and stereo. Reaper has a really easy way of doing that. There's if I just drag the mixing desk over here, there's a button that says mono. Just click the mono button, and the mix is in mono. Simple as that. And it's a really good way. I think it's good sort of mixing advice anyway, right? Like, I think you should see what it sounds like in mono, and then if it sounds good in mono, it will probably sound good in stereo as well. So yeah, I hope people are listening. Like, Audible have a thing right now where they're making a lot of audio dramas, but they're mixing them in 5.1 surround sound. And I do have to wonder who is listening to audio dramas with a 5.1 surround sound system, right? Like that's, like, it's cool and amazing, and it's incredible that Audible are willing to create audio dramas like that and go for that really big approach. But I'm not sure who sits in the middle of a speaker away for an hour or more without moving. Right, that's kind of my thing. Like, I mean, to be fair, to like, I once said that if you're recording an audio drama, you should not, you don't need to record in stereo. Obviously, that was short-sighted of me. Come back in a year and I'll say, yeah, no, you should be making everything in Dolby Atmos. Like, who knows? But I don't know. I think at this point, it's a cool thing, and I'm glad it exists for the people that want it. But I do wonder how many people are getting how many listeners are getting the full benefit of that. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, I'm very aware I should probably learn how to mix and edit in Dolby Atmos, but I kind of like, because I do worry about, like, am I keeping on top of everything? Am I kind of staying relatively close to the forefront of things that are being made? But it's a big investment. Yeah, there you go. You've kind of got there before I did, which is it's a big investment in speakers or plugins or things. And frankly, I've got other things, more immediate things I could be spending my money on. But to get back to our delightful Wolfhound Gellert, so this is the sound of Gellert kind of in this scene. So, to give Gellert a little bit more movement and a little bit more texture, there's that word again, texture and life, I thought it might be interesting to give Gellert a bell. So what I used was, so this is a Swiss, a little Swiss bell that my friend Hannah Brown gave me when she was on holiday in Switzerland, I think when we were both 16, 17, if not younger. Probably wrong about that. but it's been on my desk. I keep it on my desk. I've had it. I've kind of taken it with me wherever I've gone, and I kind of, leading up. The universe was leading up to the point where it's like, I need it for sound design. So the way this works is I'll design a scene, and then I'll put Gellert in the scene, and then I'll listen to the scene. I'll record over the whole scene again, but I'll just be holding the bell in front of the microphone, and whenever Gellert does anything, just going, kind of anticipating the movement a little bit. So in this case, you've kind of... So in the context of the scene...
It's okay, girl. Good boy. It's gonna be okay.
It's sort of Gel being a bit distressed, right? But just the sounds on their own.
It's okay, girl. Good boy. It's gonna be okay.
That works, but if you add the bell in, you add the bell sound in.
It's okay, girl. Good boy.
Just adds a little bit of extra movement, and it just kind of makes everything a bit more real and lived in. It's more work. It's more work than I probably need to do, but it's something that I thought I'd experiment with in this. Doing the thing that I always do, where on episode 1 I'll be like, I'll experiment with this and see if it works, and then it does work, and then I realize I have to do it for all the episodes after that. So, yeah. So that's how that's our wonderful Gellert sounds, and that continues into the next scene.
Let me look at that.
And so for this scene, I just had the actors around the microphone, and then I had Ankarid and Robin in front of the microphone with music stands, and then I got Tobias to just kind of walk around everyone, to kind of walk slightly sort of more towards the door, towards the window, that kind of thing. So the wonderful thing is that you sort of get a natural room tone.
Okay, I think we're safe.
Since when?
Let me look at that. Di, where are you going?
Just looking around.
Okay, this is probably going to sting a little bit, but just...
Dr. Lou, hello. It's good to have you here. We are. We're at 9:30, and I'm at scene 3. We talked a lot about. We've talked a lot about episode 1, but we've still got lots to talk about. So don't worry. It's good to have you here as always. But yeah, so for this scene, I kind of the data mines are killing me, Amber. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope. Well, I'm glad that you are back and you are out of them for the time being. But yeah, so for this I had the mic in a figure of 8 configuration, so it meant that we could have Ankarid and Robin be the center of the scene, and then have kind of Tobias walking around in the background, getting a natural, the natural room reflection, which sounds, to me, it sounds like a classic sort of BBC radio drama, right?
Okay, I think we're safe.
Since when?
Let me look at that. Di, where are you going?
Just looking around.
Just that it's quite subtle, but just that kind of subtle room reflection, and then if you add the sound effects to it as well.
Okay, I think we're safe.
Since when?
Let me look at that. Di, where are you going?
Just looking around.
So the thing is, again, because you've got that natural room tone, and then you add the footsteps in, and you add all the other sounds, it sounds together. It sounds like it's all blended together without having to really try very hard, which is really wonderful. Like when I put this, when I put the scene together, I just put this down, right?
Okay, I think we're safe.
With the sound effects, which are here and here.
Okay, I think we're safe.
Since when?
Let me look at that. Di, where are you going?
Just looking around.
Like that already feels fairly complete, right? Like I haven't added any reverb or anything to that, but it already sounds quite complete and together. Is that why BBC radio or radio drama always have the room sound? Well, because they like how we recorded audio drama, how we recorded Camlann is actually quite a lot closer to how the BBC record their radio dramas, where they have an omnidirectional microphone or a stereo. I think it's a stereo pair they usually use, and then they block it out like a stage play, right? They get the actors to move around and they kind of stage it, which is what we did for this, and I'm glad we got the opportunity to experiment with that. We didn't do everyone standing in front of music stands and reading into a microphone. Like I keep saying, I wanted the actors to forget that there was a microphone there, and they absolutely did. Like, you can kind of hear it, right? Like,
Okay, I think we're safe.
Since when?
Let me look at that. Di, where are you going?
Just looking around.
Okay, this is probably going to sting a little bit, but just stay.
you can tell I don't know sack all about this stuff, and this is why I had no idea how to direct a live show. I mean, the thing is, like, these were all things that I learned while making the show. Like I'd not recorded an audio drama like this before. Like, this was my first time using a stereo microphone. It was my first time using this particular microphone. It was the first time I'd staged anything like this. So, you know, we tried stuff out, and for the most part, everything we tried worked, which is very lucky. And I'm not saying that's something you should necessarily rely on, but Ella and Ross gave me a lot of freedom to try out new things. And I think something I learned about myself during the process of making Camlann was that I think I'm quite good at improvising stuff, improvising setups, and improvising, kind of thinking on the fly and constructing a method of making things while we were in the recording week. As if I could have stopped you. Hi, Ross. I mean, the thing is, you did stop. Like, there were a couple of things. So I'm going to try and explain this in a way that doesn't really give too much away, but there were a couple of things that I wanted to do for the recording of Camlann that I wasn't overruled, because that sounds really strong, and that sounds like it was a no. It wasn't. I was sort of gently discouraged from it. So there were a couple of things that, like, it was, I think they would have sounded good, but they weren't practical. They weren't practical for the actors. They weren't practical for the recording setups. They weren't practical for the schedule. So I was gently encouraged away from those ideas, right? I wanted to record a lot more outside of the flat, outside of the studio, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't get to do everything I wanted to do. But it meant that because it meant everything was much more studio focused, it meant that I could really focus on just making everything sound good in the studio. The workaround was fun too. Photos to come. We will talk about that. I got to do some wonderful recording setups, like to the point where I was giving them names by the end of the week. Like that's the level. It was a good week to be a recording nerd. The Camlann recording week was a very good week to be a nerd. So in terms of the ambiences for this scene, it was actually fairly straightforward. Ella was very much quite clear, being like, we need it to be raining all the time. So I've got this recording of rain on a car window. It's quite low in the mix. I'll turn it up. It's quite heavy, but at the same time, it's quite comforting as well. Definitely sounds indoors as well, which I really like. And then we've also got some windy window rattle. Maybe stick them together.
Is anyone here?
Is it raining because apocalypse or because whales? Both, I think. Ella's probably the person to ask about that.
Okay, I think we're safe.
Since when?
Let me look at that.
But like, it feels like quite a
Di,
full scene, even though
where are you going?
I'm not doing very much. Like in terms of routing and stuff, I'm doing very, very little here. So I'm doing very little, and it's just kind of doing its thing, which is wonderful.
Di, where are you going?
Just looking around.
Okay.
I remember John Ware saying they never use rain in Silt verses because I Am in Askew was constant rain all the time and he didn't want to use rain anymore. So the reason, the reason they use rain so much in I Am in Askew, and I freaking love this, is because they were unsure how to like fix audio. Basically, they weren't getting clean audio. It was quite noisy, so they realized the way to get around that was to just have it raining all the time. Which is amazing. That's such a clever solution to that problem. You know, like rather than investing in audio cleanup software or soundproofing or anything like that, it was coming up with a really imaginative solution to a problem. I love that. I love the way I Am in Askew treated the reason why they used rain for I Am in Askew is so cool, and it's so fun as well. And also I understand why you'd never want to use it again. I get that. Like doing your entire podcast on tape players. I mean, is that a dig at me? I didn't do that. No, I've not done that yet. It's something I keep pestering Ross about, being like, I'd love to make something entirely on tape players. Magnus. Magnus. Like, Magnus do a really good job, but it's sadly this is where I become a snob. Where I'm like, it's not an authentic tape sound. It's it was at first. All right, I didn't know that. But by the time I got to it and I was told to edit it, they had a process being like, you put this ambience underneath, you have it at this volume, which is really cool. It's really nice to work on podcasts like that where they're like, this is how you make an episode of this show. It meant I could get everything done quickly, which was really cool. What do we have? I think I did a bit. Did I do a bit in stereo here? What did I do here? Right. So this next bit, it's in omnidirectional. So it means that you. So was this? Yeah. Okay. So this sound has a bit of a story to it. So I recorded this at my old job at the Glasgow Film Theatre. So one of the jobs you could get given was called door duty, where basically your job was to sort of stand in the foyer and kind of look after people, help out at the bar if they needed help, make sure the ushers, coordinate the ushers and things, make sure they all got their free tickets and stuff, point people towards the toilets mostly. But the really cool part, is the part that I really loved about it, was that you had to stay until the end of the last films, and then I got to walk around the building, basically locking it up. So I had to like chain the doors, turn all the lights off. Turning all the lights off in a cinema is one of the coolest things I've ever had to do as a job. It was this very lovely kind of cathartic experience, and also. The main cinema in the GFT, if you're ever in Glasgow and you're in the Glasgow Film Theatre, and you're in Cinema 1, like clap your hands. It's got the weirdest reverb I've ever experienced. Also, if you look up the roof of the GFT, Cinema 1 looks a bit like a toilet. I'm not going to explain that further. You're just going to have to come to Glasgow and check it out for yourself. But one night I went around the building with my recorder recording footsteps, basically, because there's wood, there's stone, there's metal, there's like echoey steps. I have a whole sound effect library that's just me walking around the Glasgow Film Theatre at like midnight. It's great, and this is one of the sounds.
Hey.
So where have I got? So that's there, isn't it? Yeah. So for this one, it's in omnidirectional mode. So it's capturing all the audio. It's capturing all the reflections. And again, I just got Tobias to walk around facing away from the microphone and kind of like walking across, utilizing the squeaky floorboards in the studio as well. Kind of turning away from the microphone and kind of giving Tobias the freedom to move around as well. So you get this lovely kind of effect.
Hey. There's anyone here? You can come out now.
It's like that kind of Archer's ambience, right?
That thing is gone. You're safe. We're not going to hurt you. We're the good guys. Hello? Please?
Sad squeaky door. Listen to it on its own. Do we get any?
Hey. There's anyone here? You can come out now. That thing is gone. Gone. You're safe.
Yeah, so if I hang on, if I can change the polar pattern. So if I wanted this to be clean, I could. I'm just gonna pop that there for now. I could set the polar pattern to be a figure of 8, probably. Actually, no, it would be this one. Yeah, come on, sit on the thing. There we go.
Hey. There's anyone here? You can come out now. That thing is gone.
Still a little bit of reflection, but like...
You're safe. We're not going to hurt you. We're the good guys.
So if we wanted that'd be kind of clean audio, but instead we went for the omnidirectional mode, so it's capturing everything around the microphone. So you get this lovely reflection.
Hey. There's anyone here? You can come out now.
Sort of blends that lovely kind of reflection behind the microphone.
Anyone here? You can come out now. That thing is gone.
So basically, I'm utilizing the fact that the space isn't entirely soundproofed, and using that to create an ambience and create a sound design. And we kind of utilized that a lot when we were recording scenes internally, like recording internal scenes. Because then, first of all, it feels like a real space. And it means that, again, like I was talking about with the outside scene, the sound design blends together with the vocals in a way that I think you wouldn't get if the audio was cleanly recorded. If it was just Tobias standing in front of a microphone, because also Tobias is moving around as well, and so it makes the sound design more believable. Like,
hey, there's anyone here?
You can sort of hear Tobias moving around.
That thing is gone. You're safe. We're not going to hurt you.
It's just a lovely quiet scene. I love how quiet this scene is.
Hello? Please?
Sorry. I just find the slightly sad squeaky door quite funny.
Okay. That's understandable. All things considered.
There's probably some kind of fancy phase shifting and Doppler plugin to fake the sound of moving actors. Well, hang on. Do I have it? Yeah, so Waves do Doppler. I've never used it. I think I got it in a pack. But yeah, so you can... there are plugins that kind of do it. But and I guess to a certain extent you could use this as well, because you can add in virtual acoustics as well, which is really cool. I'm not again still figuring out how to use this plugin properly, but you can, it's got a different level of different rooms, different kind of reflections, and then you can kind of move it around the space. I tried Waves Doppler and found it a bit much. Yeah, I don't know. I like doing it myself. I don't know why. I don't know if that's just me being. I think maybe it's just because I've got the luxury of time, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I kind of I'm coming around to the idea that it's much more fun to try and, because I remember Dirk Maggs telling me that talking about recording radio and walkie-talkies and stuff and using actual walkie-talkies and radios and things, and at the time I kind of went, well, you know, that gives you less control in the edit. And I think for this I'll talk about it in the next scene actually. For this series I was much more open to like, let's try getting stuff at the recording stage and then working with it, rather than kind of having to do lots of processing and effects and things. So if you can get what you want in the original recording, that's better. Yeah. I like doing it myself by just panning stereo audio, by which I mean I can't afford plugins. Yeah, no, I feel that. Music Work taught me to make a darn decision and record it, limit the options. Yeah, it's exactly that. Like, I think if you can, like, yeah, making a decision, I think it means that you will edit things quicker. And it'll mean that you'll kind of make stronger decisions, and you'll make stronger artistic decisions. There is something to be said for that's just what it sounds like, you know, and I think that's very much something to take away from Camlann episode 1, you know, with recording outside, which didn't sound particularly clean, to recording the radio stuff, which I'll talk about in a second. Making bold decisions and kind of sticking with them, and rolling with the imperfections and the idiosyncrasies of how you've recorded something, leads to more interesting sounding audio, I think. And it leads to more interesting sounding things. Because also, it doesn't sound like anything else. It sounds unique. You know, one of the reasons I love using the Grandmother is that you can't save presets. So every time you use it, you're making a sound that's slightly different from what you used before. Maybe it's something that takes a confident director. That is a true thing as well. But I think it's a confident. I think everyone needs to be confident, right? You need a confident director. You need a confident producer. You need a confident production manager, and you need a confident recording engineer. And they all need to trust each other. That's the real challenge. Everyone needs to trust each other. And luckily for Camlann, we sort of had that. Everyone trusted each other, and it had been organized so well and it had been structured so well that there was time to play around and experiment with stuff, which we did. And I think it came out quite well. Yeah. So I'm going to skip a scene just because the scene after this one is kind of the same as the scene that we just talked about. And also, I'm very aware it's nearly 10 o'clock. This is going to be a longer stream. I'm gonna probably go until about 10:30. Just because I do want to talk about the Gawain scenes, just because I think they have something interesting to say, and also I think it's an approach. It's something that you're going to hear a lot of in the series. So it's this scene here, and we get to play around with radios and walkie-talkies in this scene.
Blankets. Blanket. Ooh, magazine. And another wool blanket.
So the way we recorded this, so I had where's it gone? So I put this thing on a desk, which is over there in the corner. There are photos of this somewhere, but yeah, I could put this on a desk, and I put the microphone next to the radio and set up a chair, and I kind of said that's the radio set as it was. And I told Tobias, like, feel free to play with the radio, flick the switches, twiddle the knobs, play around with it, have fun with it, actually kind of use it. So Tobias starts at the other end of the room, walks over to the desk, sits down, and then starts interacting with the radio. That's the kind of movement. It's been panned slightly, and I've added extra sounds to it. But I think in this scene in particular, all the noises you hear, all the radio noises in terms of like buttons and switches and things, that's all Tobias. I didn't have to add any extra ones in with this particular scene. And then also on top of the radio, I put a walkie-talkie, and when we get there, I'll explain what happens next when we get there. But basically, we had Paul, who was playing Gawain, in a different room with the other another microphone and also the other walkie-talkie, and then that's how we performed the scene. Was we had them on walkie-talkies, and this is what it sounds like.
Blankets. Blanket. Ooh, magazine.
That is an actual squeaky floorboard in my studio. Like, Ella deciding to set this in like a cottage, excellent idea. It just meant that I didn't have to worry about the squeaky floorboards in the flat.
Blanket. Ooh, magazine. And another wool blanket. Hello there.
So this is
Hello,
Tobias
you.
sitting down.
CB radio, right? And if you have batteries, then yes.
Yeah. So that's all Tobias flicking switches and things.
And if you have batteries,
And that's the other thing is by kind of blocking it out to a certain extent, you hear Tobias sitting down, and it sounds real. It sounds like a real sound, and also like you can hear the movement.
And if you have batteries,
And it means I had less to do. I had less work. That's always good. I like having less work to do.
And if you have batteries, then yes.
Is the emergency
I'm a genius. Okay, well, Morgan's a genius because she's the one who actually got obsessed with these when she was 13, but yeah.
Top tip for producers everywhere. Get your actors to record your Foley for you. Then it means you don't have to do it. It's great. It's great. I'd highly recommend it.
Operations have been severely disrupted.
Actors like getting enrichment.
Operations have been severely disrupted. The number of casualties and the extent of
Yeah.
yet known.
Who else is out there?
So let's talk about this here. So this here, this system, what you're hearing here.
This is the emergency broadcasting service.
So that is the voice of the fantastic Peter Wicks, who very kindly came on as the emergency announcer. And this is a bit of audio you kind of hear in the background of quite a bit of the series. It was recorded cleanly. It was recorded remotely. It was recorded in a very clean environment. Peter has a very, very, very good home setup, a professional home setup. And I got that audio and I decided this sounds too good. I need to make it sound worse. So I did what is now becoming one of my favorite tricks. Is I used this little thing. It's an FM transmitter. I plugged this into the headphone output of my Focusrite and got it to broadcast on, I think it was 107.9. Basically, these used to be for before cars had like Bluetooth connectivity, you would plug this into your iPod or your phone or your MP3 player or whatever, and then you'd tune your radio to whatever it said, and then it would play your music through the radio. It was a wonderful little workaround for a problem that should never have existed in the first place. But these are like 20 quid now, and the cool thing is that I plugged it in, had the audio coming out, and then I recorded it through this FM radio. So just had to tune it until I found the audio, which was wonderful. And so and then as a result of that, and also I kind of had the microphone a little bit further back, so again you get a natural room tone.
is the emergency broadcasting service. This country is under attack. Communications have been severely disrupted.
Like, I've done nothing to that. That's raw audio coming through this radio, right? I think I added a limiter to it just to kind of boost the volume up. But other than that, other than just the normal sort of cleanup stuff, I haven't really done anything.
This is the emergency broadcasting service. This country is under attack.
That's what it sounds like with nothing on.
Communications have been severely disrupted. The number of casualties and the extent of the damage are not yet known.
So basically, I just played it a couple of times and then just kind of messed around with the tuning on the radio to get the kind of the sort of distortion effects. And then just whenever I need to have this in an episode, just chop it up and then put it in there. So then you get.
Yes!
Is the emergency
I'm a genius. Okay, well, Morgan's a genius because she's the one who actually got obsessed with these when she was 13.
Communications have been severely disrupted. The number of casualties and the extent of
Yeah.
yet known.
Who else is out there?
And then. So I added in hiss for these bits just to kind of punctuate a little bit more.
Hello. Bravo Alpha Niner. Can you
That's
hear
just Tobias
me?
pressing the button on the walkie-talkie.
Is anyone out there? Take me to your leader.
Ty?
Nope.
Absolutely not. Ty? Hello? What? Hello, is anyone there?
Okay, so that what you're hearing there is you're hearing the walkie-talkie on top of the radio. So it's all recorded as one scene, right? So it's why you've got these gaps here, is that you had. It meant we actually got to capture the performance between. Excuse me, we got to capture the performance between Tobias and Paul through the walkie-talkies, and the same again, one microphone. So the audio that was picking up Tobias's performance was also picking up Paul's performance. Paul was being recorded on a clean channel in the other room as a backup, so we did have a clean version if we wanted to use it. But I kind of went in being like, I'm going to use the walkie-talkie audio, and it sounds great, I think.
Ty?
Nope.
Absolutely not.
And that's genuinely Tobias running away.
Hello? What? Hello, is anyone there? Station is this? If you can hear me, I can hear you. I'm here. Hello? Jesus Christ, I thought you were dead. Hello? Can you hear me? Die. Die? Are you there? Please?
Oh god, this is real.
Yeah, because that's the other thing as well. Because at this point,
Oh god, this is real.
because you've got Tobias like behind a chair at this point, you get the distance without having to do any kind of panning or reverb or anything like that. It's just there baked into the audio.
Oh god, this is real.
Oh, beautiful.
Hello?
Ty!
Are you actually Gwaine? My Gwaine Turner, because if you're not, then you have to tell me right now.
What?
If you're a ghost or an echo or whatever, then I don't think I can do this.
You think I'm one of the phenomena?
That's the other thing as well. You get these lovely natural artifacts in the walkie-talkie audio, because we'll talk about this when we get there. There were a couple of times where somebody else started talking through the walkie-talkie and we had no idea who they were. So clearly, because we've got like a fire station down the road, we've also got a big supermarket as well. I sort of forgot that these are tuned to frequencies that other people can tune into. So somebody at some point somebody in Glasgow has got Camlann spoilers at some point. But either that, they got the fright of their life. But it meant you got these lovely little artifacts like this. that just kind
you
of naturally came into the audio and just added a little bit of extra texture, which I really love.
You think I'm one of the phenomena?
Can you prove you're not? Gwen?
Blue M&Ms.
What?
You hate blue M&Ms.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You always pick them out and put them aside. Whenever you share a packet, the only ones that are left are blue.
People in the RQ Bagel server think Paul's character is sus, by the way. It just makes me really happy that they're talking about it in the RQ Bagel server. That just makes me real happy. It's good that they think Paul is sus. That's good.
Whenever you
Well,
share a packet,
Gwen is sus. Paul is lovely.
whenever you share a packet, the only ones that are left are blue. Every time. They don't even taste different.
I will say this: having to chop this scene up to move them onto different tracks, that was kind of annoying. That was a bit of a pain in the butt. But at the same time, in terms of the work that would go into something like this normally, like coming up with a radio sound and adding in these artifacts and things, I think it was worth it.
Well, you've convinced me this could all be a really horrible trick. Convince me that you're my die.
April 1st, first
Because the
year.
other thing as well, you get these lovely little sort of overlapping sounds.
Say that you're my die.
So hear them there. You can sort of hear Tobias moving around in front of the radio.
Convince me that you're my die.
And again, it means that I don't have to do anything to indicate movement, or do anything to kind of make the characters sound like 3D human beings rather than just disembodied voices, right? Like,
Convince me that you're my die.
April 1st, first year.
Fuck. Hi.
Hi.
there you go. So that was so we used that trick quite a lot of running things through a radio or using walkie-talkies to kind of have scenes between characters. Excuse me. There were a couple of times where we had to. We are of course very worried about Gellert. Gellert is amazing. Gellert is our best boy. Gellert is just the best. Speaking of Gellert, actually, something I forgot to talk about. So this scene here, right?
No one.
Die.
You okay, Morgan?
I'm fine. Perry's still good with a needle.
I think I'm getting better.
Yes, you are.
So that's all. That's all baked onto one take. We didn't get a take of each line separately, which I'm annoyed that we didn't do, because it would have been nice to kind of have a bit more control over volumes, because I think it's a bit messy in the end. But there's a wonderful picture from behind the scenes that I'm not going to look for because I know we're already running over, of Tobias like playing with our stunt Gellert, Hobbs the lion, and basically kind of doing this and playing with his ears and things. Like the actors really took to heart the fact that like when I told them this is Gellert, they absolutely went for it, which I really love. Like I'm so glad that they ran with that, because like I said, there was this sense of like either they're gonna run with this or they're gonna think it's the weirdest thing and they're never gonna talk to me again. But yeah, so it worked out real well.
Buddy.
Perry's still good.
And again, just another really good example of using Gellert sounds. Like, I honestly didn't have to do very much to indicate what Gellert was doing, but like it's mostly just like dog breathing and then me with a bell. You know, just like you can sort of hear it here, like when Gal sort of runs across the room to go kind of cuddle with Di. Like that's all that is. Like it's not complicated. It's not complex. But when you put it all together,
No one.
Die.
You okay, Morgan?
I'm fine.
Buddy.
Perry's still good with a needle.
I think I'm getting better.
Yes, you are.
It works all together in context. It really, like, I think something that if I may be allowed to say that I impressed myself with, was how well everything blends together in this series. I think it all comes together really well, and quite naturally as well. Like, it can be quite a challenge sometimes to make the voices and the sound design all blend together in a way that's effective and believable and sounds real. But this series, it's been really easy to do that, and I think it's a combination of all of these factors that I've been talking about: how we recorded it, how we, the fact that we blocked it, and we blocked it like we would like a film shoot or a play, and then also having control over the polar pattern of the microphone after we'd recorded, just gave me so much more flexibility when it came to like designing what scenes sound like. Like I genuinely, like I said it at the beginning, but the polarizer plugin, and the fact that I was using a stereo microphone completely revolutionized the way I record stuff. It completely changed how I view recording and like how to record a series and how best to record audio. Like, I don't particularly want to record, like I said, I can't see myself recording a series like I recorded The Tower, where I had everybody on individual things. In the context of The Tower, it works having everybody on individual microphones. It was designed that way. But like Middle Below, I had 3 microphones set up and everyone had to sort of share them. If I was recording Middle Below now, I could just stick this microphone in front of everyone and then maybe give David Pello, who played Gil, give Pello a separate microphone and say that's your ghost microphone, for putting effects on and things. Otherwise, everyone's just around this mic. I think it would be better that way. But I didn't know how to record back then, whereas I like to think I sort of know how to record stuff now. Yeah, like this has been a game changer for me. Okay, I have one more thing to talk about. And if there are any specific questions about this episode or the sound design or the editing process or the recording process, I'm happy to stick around and answer them a little bit longer, because I only have sort of one more thing to talk about. It's a kind of a silly thing. It won't take me very long. So if there is something in particular you want to know about the episode that I've not talked about, or a particular aspect of the process that I have forgotten about or should have talked more about or didn't explain properly, please do let me know in the chat, and I'll do my best. Hopefully I'll know how to answer them. So the next scene is in the garage, which is another space in the cottage.
Morgan, are you able to move?
That's not that scene, it's the scene after that.
Let's see what we got here. Right, let's see what we got here. Well, that's pointless. Oh, I could use this. What do you... Okay, that's also pointless. This could be good. Oh, fuck! Oh. Jesus, Perry, don't do that.
Sorry.
Okay, so again, for the start of this scene, I basically put a load of stuff on the music stand in front of Angharad and said, "This is the stuff you're looking through." I think it was like a CD case. It was I think it was a multi-tool, and I think it was a tape measure as well. Just stuff I had lying around the office, and then just said, "Right, this is the stuff you're looking at." And
right, let's see what we got here. Well, that's pointless. Oh.
Sorry, there's a reverb because it's a garage. Just mute that.
Right, let's see what we got here. Well, that's pointless. Oh, I could use this. What do you... Okay, that's also pointless. This could be good. Oh, fuck! Jesus, Perry, don't do that.
Sorry.
Throwing the like a set of Allen keys, I think, on the ground. Yeah. So that just again, give your actors things to do while they're recording, and it sounds great.
Right, let's see what we got here. Well, that's pointless. Oh, I could use this. What do you... Okay, that's also pointless. This could be good.
Have this on.
Oh, Oh, fuck. Jesus, Perry, don't do that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
It's fine, just jumpy.
I think something I learned to appreciate in this series, from making this series, is the figure of eight polar pattern. I'd never used it before, just because I sort of, my experience previously was that it was kind of a bit unwieldy, and I'd usually go for an omnidirectional pattern instead, to be a bit safer. But I really, really like the figure of eight now. I really love using it for dialogue scenes, in particular when it's two characters, or scenes where you need to have like a character either far away or just sounding not in the scene. Like there's a scene later on in the series where two characters are talking and Di is like asleep on the couch. So for that scene, I had the two actors on either side of the microphone, figure of eight configuration, but then sort of in the dead zone, which happened to be the sofa, which if I turn this way, you can kind of see the sofa behind me. I basically just said to Tobias to just lie on the sofa and have a nap while we were recording, and because of that, you still hear the sounds, but they sound they're a lot quieter just because they're kind of in these dead zones, which is kind of really handy, right? I've only used figure of eight to do mid and side recording. Yeah, like I think I'd never really properly used it before in a recording context, but I think I really got to know the possibilities of a figure of eight recording, a figure of eight polar pattern on a microphone, with this series. And yeah, I used it for this scene, and you can absolutely tell. Like if I just play this on its own,
It's fine, just jumpy.
How's it looking?
Good.
again, just turn the garage.
Amazingly good, actually. I'm guessing they were...
So if I move this down here,
It's fine, just jumpy.
How's it looking?
Good. Amazingly good, actually. I'm guessing they were hippies or something. This place is pretty much self-sustaining.
like sounds fine, sounds absolutely good. That's absolutely usable, but you get a little bit of room reflection, which we're kind of, because it's a garage, we can kind of get away with. But I kind of wanted the reverb to kind of do that instead. Also, the other cool thing that the polarizer does is you can kind of, it's not like a click this one then this one then this one. You can kind of mix them a little bit, so you can kind of do a sort of a semi middle eight, or you can do like a kind of uber cardioid with like a little bit coming out the bottom. It's a really cool plugin. I promise I will talk about it less in future streams. But in this case, it worked.
It's
really well.
fine, just jumpy.
How's it looking?
Good.
Because if I turn everything off and you hear it as a stereo file,
It's fine, just jumpy.
How's it looking?
Good. Amazingly good, actually. I'm guessing they were hippies or something. This place is pretty much self-sustaining.
it's just Angarad over here,
I honestly don't
Robin
know
over
why they
here.
left. I mean, the cataclysm hit the city's hard place to weather the apocalypse.
Unless there's something hiding in the woods.
Did you find anything?
No, but...
Which you see in that context, they sound really far away.
Unless there's...
Anyway, so fun thing about this scene, and this will kind of be the last thing I talk about before I call it a night. So start of this scene, Gellert is sniffing around. So I spent a lot of time looking through my sound effect library that I bought specifically for this show. That was all dogs. And I could not find a sniffing sound. And I looked online, couldn't find a sniffing sound. Looked on all the places where I'd normally go for sound effects, couldn't find a sniffing sound. And eventually I realized if I'm going to do this, I have to do this myself. So at the start of this scene, when you hear Gellert sniffing around...
So let's see what we got here. Well, that's pointless. Oh, I could use this. Or do you...
That's me!
Okay, that's also pointless. This would be...
That's me sniffing right really close to the microphone, pretending to be a dog. So if you think the scene is slightly slow, or you're kind of waiting for the rest of the scene, the rest of the episode to happen, and you want to kind of have a bit more fun with this scene, instead of picturing Gellert, picture me in a dog costume. just walking around sniffing things. Because when I listen to this now, because I have that knowledge, that's what it sounds like to me.
So let's see what we got here.
And then obviously
Well,
there's
that's
the bell
pointless.
as well.
Oh, I could use this. Or do you? Okay, that's also pointless. This could be good. Oh, Jesus, Perry, don't do Cataclysm hit the city's hardest.
Oh
right?
yes, and this was the other one. So in the sound effect library that I bought, there is the sound of a dog shaking, like shaking itself dry. But I didn't find it until later on because basically I just misread it. I hadn't organized the sound effect library properly in my database. So for this episode, I had to do it myself, and this is what it sounds like. So to get that sound, I put a pair of rubber gloves on. Not all the way, so like the hand bit was sort of still sort of flapping here. Put them on and then just did this. And then you get this sound. And then, you know, I think where's the actual shaking sound? It is... It's somewhere else. Where did it go?
The plan is we need it now.
Yeah, here. So this is an actual dog. Right? And then
Amazingly good, actually.
this is the one that I made. I don't think that's bad. I think that's pretty good. I reckon if you did a blind listen test, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff in this episode that I'm really proud of, but that in particular, I'm like, that's good. That's good Foley work. That's good stuff. That's the good. That's what they're paying me the bucks for, I guess. Is there anything else worth talking about? I'm not sure there is. I think that's kind of it, really. Everything else is just sort of variations on everything we've talked about. Okay, yeah, I think we'll call it there. So that's episode 1 of Camlann. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking around. I love how you carefully left out big from bucks there. Yeah, you know, it's Scottish government money, which is good, but at the same time, there's not a lot of it, sadly. You know, for now. I really love this series. I've really loved working on Camlann, and I really loved working on it and putting it together. It's challenging in the right way, in the way that it's kind of, it feels like when you're trying to solve a really hard puzzle, like you know that you have the answer in you. You just need to work to get it, and it's good. It's been the nice balance of knowing what I'm doing, but also learning as I go, and that's a very privileged position to be in. And I'm, you know, the thing that I always worry about is that I'm going to start making things by the numbers. That things are going to become habit. That, you know, because I've seen that happen for so many audio engineers and audio producers, and in particular in radio as well. That they're like, oh, we just do it like this, and you don't become lazy, but it's just it becomes a, oh, we're doing a thing, go through the motions, and I always worry about falling into that as a engineer, as a sound designer, as an editor. So this project's been really wonderful in that I feel like I've been able to grow as a sound designer, grow as an editor, but still be able to make really good work. So it's been really good, and I'm glad that the episode has had such a good reception, and I'm glad that people are enjoying the series so much. I'm looking forward to showing you all the other wonderful, amazing set pieces we have for you. So this week, so on Wednesday we will not be doing Camlann stuff on Wednesday. Instead, I'll be doing some live radio tinkering. I'll be playing with some live radio pieces. I'm going to be doing that a little more deliberately this year. I actually have some pieces that I want to turn into a series at some point later this year. So I'll be playing some pieces. I'll be rehearsing some pieces, and also I'll be putting together some new stuff as well. But that'll be on Wednesday at the same time, 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, I hope it is not too stormy where you are. The UK is currently getting a 1-2 punch of 2 different storms, and It's very drafty in my home, which is not particularly fun. It's why I've got a bit of a sniffle, and I think I'm getting a cold. And also, I didn't sleep very well last night because the windows were going, which is not particularly good for good sleep patterns. I hope you are not having to experience that. I hope it is warm where you are. I hope it is not too windy where you are, and I hope it is not raining too much where you are. Thank you so much for coming along. I hope you had a good time. I hope this was useful, and I will see you at the next stream. So thank you very much, and good night.